No one expected Dakota Johnson to say it, not after almost a decade of silence, careful answers, and polite diplomacy. But during a relaxed, seemingly harmless podcast interview, she suddenly leaned forward, sighed with a weight that surprised even the host, and said the sentence that would shake Hollywood. "There's something Jamie did, something I've never been able to forgive." The room fell silent, the host froze, and the internet, within minutes, turned her words into a storm. The podcast had started casually. Dakota joked about past roles, shared stories from film sets, and laughed about her early years in the industry. She seemed at ease, comfortable, even nostalgic. But when the conversation shifted toward 50 Shades, the tone changed subtly. Her eyes softened, but not with warmth, more like someone touching a bruise they'd learned to live with. And then the host asked the question that unlocked everything. "Were there any difficult moments with your co-stars?" Dakota hesitated, looked down at her hands, and exhaled slowly. "With Jamie, yes," she said quietly. "Something that stayed with me." She tried to laugh it off, but the crack in her voice said otherwise. The host, sensing a rare moment of vulnerability, asked gently, "What happened?" That was when Dakota whispered the word, "Unforgivable." The podcast room went cold. Within hours, that single clip was everywhere: Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and every entertainment site imaginable. Fans dissected her tone, her body language, the exact second her expression changed. Some insisted she looked hurt. Others argued she looked relieved. But all agreed on one thing. Dakota Johnson had finally broken her silence about something she had kept buried for years. As the clip spread, people began revisiting old interviews and behind-the-scenes footage from 50 Shades. They noticed moments they had overlooked before: Dakota wiping tears between takes, Jamie looking tense during a rehearsal, the unusual quietness in some press interviews. Fans began stitching these fragments together, forming theories about what might have happened. And with every new theory, the drama grew louder. Dakota's closest followers pointed to a particular incident from the first film's production. Rumors had existed for years: a difficult day on set, a scene that pushed both actors emotionally, and a disagreement that was quietly swept under the rug. No one ever confirmed the details, but Dakota's recent comment breathed new life into every old rumor. Some fans speculated Jamie had said something insensitive during a vulnerable moment. Others believed he had dismissed her concerns about a scene that required emotional preparation. A few even suggested there had been a behind-the-scenes argument that the studio covered up. As the theories multiplied, Dakota's full statement from the podcast offered more context. She described a moment when she felt dismissed, unheard, and unprotected. "It wasn't about the scene," she clarified. "It was about respect. It was about feeling like my feelings didn't matter that day." Her voice trembled slightly, not with anger, but with old, unresolved hurt. She admitted that she carried that moment with her for years, even though she kept working professionally with Jamie afterward. The internet divided instantly. One side defended Dakota passionately, insisting that her pain should be validated. They claimed she had every right to speak after years of silence. Hashtags supporting her trended worldwide. The other side rose to Jamie's defense, arguing that actors often face stressful moments on set and that one misunderstanding shouldn't be labeled unforgivable. They questioned the timing of her revelation and wondered why she waited so long to speak. Meanwhile, news outlets began contacting people who worked on the set of 50 Shades. Some crew members said they remembered tension between Dakota and Jamie during the early stages of filming. Others recalled them being close and supportive of each other. The inconsistency only fueled speculation. The more the public questioned the past, the more mysterious the unforgivable move became. Dakota herself seemed conflicted as she continued the interview. She admitted she had protected Jamie for years, wanting to avoid misunderstandings, drama, and headlines. But at some point, she said, "You can't carry a story alone anymore." Her words hit hard, resonating with millions who understood what it meant to hold in emotions for too long. It didn't sound like bitterness. It sounded like release. The podcast host, stunned but composed, attempted to shift the tone by asking whether Dakota had ever confronted Jamie about the incident. She looked away for a moment before answering, "No. I didn't. I should have. Maybe things would have been different." That sentence alone ignited another explosion online. Fans interpreted it as regret, longing, resentment, every emotion except indifference. And just when the internet could not get any louder, the full transcript of Dakota's interview dropped, revealing one final line she had said at the end. "I hope one day he explains his side, because I think the world deserves to hear it too." With that, she didn't just reveal a painful memory. She opened the door wide for Jamie Dornan to respond. When Dakota's words exploded across the internet, it took less than 24 hours for the spotlight to swing violently toward Jamie Dornan. Reporters camped outside events he was scheduled to attend. Publicists refused interviews. Fan accounts demanded an immediate response. Jamie, who had always protected his privacy with almost surgical precision, suddenly found himself at the center of a worldwide emotional storm he didn't start, but would now be forced to walk through. He stayed silent at first, not out of avoidance, but because he was stunned. The phrase, "unforgivable move," echoed in every headline, every comment section, every notification. People who adored him felt confused. Critics were merciless, and Hollywood insiders whispered that Jamie was hurt and caught off guard. Those who knew him said he watched Dakota's clip repeatedly, trying to understand what she meant, and which moment she was referring to. Eventually, Jamie agreed to address the situation in a brief interview after an event. He wasn't smiling. His posture was tense, his shoulders slightly pulled inward, as if bracing for impact. When the interviewer finally asked about Dakota's statement, Jamie paused for a long time, long enough that the silence itself became a headline. Then he said quietly, "I know what she's talking about. And I'm not proud of it." The admission sent the internet into immediate chaos. Jamie continued, choosing every word with painful care. He explained that during the early days of 50 Shades, the stress was overwhelming for both of them. The pressure was intense. Billions of eyes on them, a demanding franchise, and scenes that required enormous emotional vulnerability. "There was one day," he said, "when I should have listened to Dakota. I should have stopped, stepped back, and let her speak. But I didn't. I dismissed her concerns because I thought I was helping, and I was wrong." He didn't describe the moment in detail. He didn't have to. His voice carried the weight of genuine regret. "If she was hurt, then that's something I've carried too," he added. "Not because of the job, but because she deserved better from me." His honesty was raw, unusual for an actor who had always stayed tightly guarded. For a moment, it didn't feel like a PR explanation. It felt like a confession. But Jamie wasn't finished. He shifted slightly, pressing his palms together as though grounding himself. "I never knew she saw it as unforgivable," he said softly. "We never talked about it directly. I wish we had." His eyes flickered with something unspoken, pain, nostalgia, or maybe the realization that silence had allowed the wound to deepen. Fans replayed that moment endlessly, analyzing every blink and breath. The interviewer asked whether he and Dakota had spoken since her podcast aired. Jamie looked down, then back up. "Not yet," he admitted. "But I think we need to." It was the closest he had ever come to acknowledging tension between them. The world leaned in even closer. Meanwhile, Hollywood reacted with the intensity only Hollywood can deliver. Some actors who worked with Jamie stepped forward to defend him, calling him professional and compassionate. Others admitted there had been challenging days on set but emphasized mutual respect between the two stars. Directors chimed in, stating that the pressure of filming intimate scenes could easily lead to emotional mistakes. But it was Dakota's voice, and now Jamie's, that mattered most. Fan wars erupted across platforms. One side insisted Jamie's admission proved he was accountable and mature. The other argued that his mistake must have been far worse than he was willing to reveal if Dakota called it unforgivable. The conflict grew so heated that several moderators on fan forums disabled comments entirely. But the speculation only intensified. The most dramatic twist came from an unexpected source. A former crew member from the first 50 Shades film anonymously posted that they remembered the incident. According to them, Dakota expressed discomfort about a scene and asked for additional time, but the production was under pressure to move quickly. Jamie, trying to encourage her, made a comment that sounded dismissive, something like, "We've done harder scenes, you'll be fine." It wasn't cruel, but it hit her at the wrong moment, in the wrong way. The post ended with, "They never talked about it again." Whether the account was real or fabricated, it added fuel to an already raging fire. As the story peaked, Dakota posted a short message on Instagram. "I said what I needed to say. Healing is complicated." She didn't mention Jamie by name, but everyone knew. The post gathered millions of views in minutes. Some fans thought it signaled closure. Others believed it hinted at unresolved tension. And then, for the first time since the scandal erupted, Jamie addressed Dakota directly in an interview clip that quickly went viral. "I care about her," he said firmly. "She's been one of the most important people in my career. If I hurt her, then I want us to talk. Not for the public, not for drama, but for us." Those words created a moment of collective silence across the internet. The world doesn't know whether Dakota and Jamie will ever resolve the moment she called unforgivable. But one thing has become clear. Some wounds don't fade, some truths take years to emerge. And when they do, Hollywood listens.